comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So it's the T20 World Cup final today. Australia versus New Zealand. The old Anzac rivalry. And I'm Australian. I was born and raised in Australia, but there's plenty of Kiwi blood coursing through my veins. I think I've got more Kiwi blood than I do Australian. On my dad's side, my grandpa was Kiwi and my grandma was Polish. On my mum's side, my grandma was Kiwi and my grandpa was an alcoholic. A true blue fucking Australian alcoholic. His name was Brian. He had no other options. I think he died like 10 or 12 years ago of liver failure. He took it all the way to the end. I hadn't seen him though since I was like 14. My brother went to go see him up in Lismore one time. I think my brother would have been about 14 at the time, so I would have been 16. And my brother has like the orangest, flaming fucking red hair and like crystal blue eyes in the fucking world. He's hard not to recognize, so he went up there to stay with my grandpa, and my grandpa had no fucking idea who he was. He just thought a leprechaun had moved in or something. He had drunk away the memory of his grandchild. So after he didn't recognize my brother, I was like, he's not going to fucking recognize me. And so I never saw him again. I remember the last time I saw him, he was fucking hammered and he was showing me his dad's, my great-grandfather's World War I or World War II fucking war diaries, which I was meant to inherit, as well as like this big coin collection, which ended up getting stolen by one of his old fucking drinking missuses or something. I don't know. It all went pear-shaped. But he ended up passing away and I didn't go to the funeral. My mum and her twin sister went to the funeral and they hadn't seen Popper in fucking ages as well. So they rock up to the funeral and the entire place is packed with Aboriginals. And my mum and my auntie were like, what the fuck is going on? So apparently the old alcoholic cunt had made good. He'd adopted and taken care of a bunch of Aboriginal kids or something like that. And he became part of the Aboriginal community out there. And all the Aboriginal people, like the kids that he treated as his children, came up to my mum, his actual daughter, and said, your dad was a great man. He was a great man. He looked after us so well. And my mum and my auntie were like, well, I'm glad he looked after someone. So in the end, he kind of made good in his own little way. I don't think he gave up drinking though. I think he was strong right until the end, which you've got to admire. So that is my only ancestral link to Australia, is my alcoholic grandfather. So when it has come down to sporting events like this, Australia versus New Zealand, I've always gone for New Zealand. I've always had the soft spot for New Zealand, the underdog. Unless it's the rugby where the All Blacks are never the underdogs and I still go for them anyway. But I especially hate the Australian cricket team. They are the most unlikable cunts in Australia. Especially this new generation that are younger than me. I'm like, shut the fuck up, you millennial cunts. No one cares. You're not fucking Shane Warne or Glenn McGrath or Ricky Ponting. No one gives a fuck. The Australian cricket team, this is mainly for the people listening in the US, Canada, Ireland, and Japan and the Cayman Islands and Saudi Arabia. But the Australian cricket team during like the mid to late 90s, early 2000s to mid 2000s were just unfucking stoppable. I think they got sports team of the world like 3 or 4 times. They were unfucking beatable. But they would win so often and it would be so uncompetitive that you had to cheer against them. But anyway, they had some of the biggest legend cricket players of all time during this period. And then slowly they began retiring. And most of them were arrogant, unlikable cunts too. But they were so fucking good, you had to love them. But after they started retiring, the new crop of fucking retards came in. And they had the same swagger as the old legends, but they weren't anywhere near as good. They kept on winning though for a little while because the Australian team still had a little bit of aura. Now the aura's gone, they still have the swagger and they lose. And not one of them looks like a guy you would like to have a beer with. I don't even know if these new fuckers drink. When I was growing up, the opening batsman for Australia was David Boyle. Boony. This will mean nothing to a lot of you. But David Boone was legendary for his batting, but even more legendary for his drinking. He once drank 52 cans of VB, Victoria Bitter, on a flight from Australia to England. You know what I mean? That's a true Australian legend. That must have been before responsible service of alcohol certificates. And then VB came out with a fucking Boony figurine. Just saying, want another can? Oh, I feel like another can. That is an Australian legend. These new fucks, I don't know what the fuck they're promoting. Hair gel or something. What I'm trying to say is I'm going for New Zealand tonight, and that will be just enough for them to lose. Anyway, I got to get out there. This will be actually the first match of the T20 World Cup that I've watched this year. So I'm pretty excited. Starts in about an hour, so I'm out of here. If you're enjoying the podcast, give it a share around, and I'll see you the fuck later.